Peace, family. Got a very interesting video today for the family. Very interesting. So you're going to want to make it through this video if you can. And if you can't, you're going to want to come back and listen to the video. So before I start, I would like to give honor to all of you watching. All of you that's dealing with the 5 highest principles known to man, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I would like to give praise to the Almighty Creator Allah. So let's get started. I want to start with a video clip. So watch the video clip and then I'll be waiting for you on the other side.
Harvard archaeologist Barry Fell has spent years studying inscriptions and drawings from Mystery Hill and other unexplained ruins in North America.
Now, what about some of these inscriptions that have been found? What do they indicate in terms of people's presences in this area? Where are they from?
Well, they really tell us that America in ancient times was a melting pot of the races of Europe, just as it is today. Same peoples from all parts of Europe and North Africa, living together, even speaking their own languages side by side, and writing their own inscriptions and their own writing systems.
What people came here?
Basques from Portugal, Celts from Spain and Portugal, Phoenicians from Carthage and probably from Phoenicia itself in Syria, and ancient Egyptian traders too.
Why do you think these people came here?
Probably initially by accident. Fishermen, you know, the Portuguese people are wonderful deep-sea fishermen, and inevitably a fisherman is going to be blown away from land in a storm. A fisherman knows how to look after himself when he's blown out to sea, and in modern times very long voyages have been performed that way. So initially accidentally, later deliberately.
Alright, you've seen the clip. Very interesting about the Phoenicians and about America being a great melting pot and all these different people coming over here. So as you know, people have been coming to the Americas pre-Columbia times, before Columbus, in waves. So not just one particular people came over here. Many different people came over here. So America always been a melting pot. And it was structures found in America that was these people that was here built in stone. The Native Americans who we know of today, or the American Indians, didn't build in stone. So that's a key point that archaeologists, the scientists, put out. So all right, let's get into my notes. I have my notes, so we're going to get into them. Okay? So, the mystery of ancient America. According to Noble Drew Ali, the dominion and inhabitation of the ancient Cushites and Canaanites extended from northeast and southwest Africa across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. So Noble Drew Ali is saying that the Cushites and Canaanites were in America before the great earthquake that caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. 2 key points are mentioned in Noble Drew Ali's statement: Atlantis and Great Earthquake, which gives us the keys to a great mystery of our history. After careful research, I was able to come up with a time for this great earthquake by studying the old Greek literature attributed to Plato, Herodotus, and Diodorus. This great earthquake is said to have happened 12,000 years ago, when there was once supposed to be a large landmass inhabited by ancient people where the Atlantic Ocean is now. Today, they call this missing landmass Atlantis. As the story goes, a great earthquake hit near Atlantis, causing its inhabitants to flee and Atlantis itself to sink to the bottom of the ocean in pieces. Drew Ali also mentioned the Atlantis Islands, in which today it is said that the Azores Islands are pieces of Atlantis that didn't sink and are still inhabited today. And there are scientists that are convinced that Atlantis is submerged just north of Cadiz, which is in Spain, in the Atlantic Ocean. So we touched on some key points that noble geology, because you know in our Moorish Quran, it's only but so much. It's a very thin book, so you're gonna have to take the stuff that's in here and research them, as I have done. This is all my work without the research that I have personally done. Other people might come up with other things, but like I tell you, this is what I have come up with, my personal energy and research. So Greek writers already gave the information. They wrote about Atlantis and things like that. So I stated the keys given to us by Noble Drew Ali, which is these lessons, is a part of Moorish history. Why I say that? The book. Why I say that? Because a book written by Shirley Andrews. This is Shirley Andrews' book. I'll show you literature so you can see her. She doesn't look like me. She's not a part of the Moorish Science Temple or anything like that. So she has no reason to talk about the Moors and stuff like that and lie about this stuff. So Shirley Andrews stated in her book, in this book, Atlantis, she stated that when the Moors, this is in her book, when the Moors from North Africa occupied portions of Spain during the 8th to the 15th centuries, they carried some of the ancient books their forefathers saved to the European continent. So she's saying that the Moors, when the Moors went into Spain, to occupy portions of Spain, they had this knowledge with them. If you go back to my other videos, you'll know that the Moors took a lot of wisdom into Europe with them. So this knowledge, a lot of knowledge and stuff they brought into Spain with them, right? So a Scotsman, Michael Scott, who was familiar with Arabic, traveled to Spain in 1217 and translated knowledge recorded in the manuscripts from Africa, including details of Atlantis. She also stated further details depicting Atlantis were collected in extraordinary libraries in the Western world that were available for study and research in the centuries before Christianity. One of the most notable, with over 500,000 books, was located in Carthage on the north coast of Africa. So what she's saying is these Moors, the Moors basically had all this knowledge from ancient Carthage, which Carthage is an ancient nation that was developed and founded by the Phoenicians, who came from Asia. Basically, these are people that look like me, you know, dark brown, or what you want to call black people, basically. And they came in Carthage is where Tunis is today in North Africa, just to give you a picture of what Carthage is. So the Moors had that information from these 500,000 these libraries, these 500,000 books, and they took some of this knowledge that they had and they had it documented, but they had translated all this knowledge now to modern. At that modern time, the language that they was using, one of the languages they was writing in, was Arabic. So let's go on. Diodorus, a Sicilian geographer and historian of the 1st century BC, recorded many details about Atlantis that he learned from the natives while researching Africa. So what Noble Drew Ali laid down about this great earthquake in Atlantis and Atlantis Islands and all this stuff, he didn't make this stuff up. This stuff is documented by the Africans, by our people, by our forefathers in Africa. This knowledge, the Europeans didn't make this stuff up. They learned this stuff from Africans. Okay. In 146 BC, when the Romans ravaged the libraries at Carthage, kings of North African tribes managed to rescue some of the valuable books. They guarded them carefully for hundreds of years, and fragments of this knowledge of ancient times eventually reached the European continent with the Moors. That's again stated by Shirley Andrews in her book Atlantis, Insights from a Lost Civilization. This is her, not me, right? So she's stating that the Moors, that North African tribes, this was before they was actually called the English term Moors. This when they was went by different names. But in Carthage, the Romans was burning our books and stuff. So the North African kings had preserved some of the books and saved some of them. And later on, the Moors still possessed it, and they brought it to Europe with them. So all these Europeans writing all these books and all this stuff, you saying, people say, oh, that stuff come from the European, it come from... No, the Europeans got it from you. Right. So Drusilla Houston stated in her book, in Africa, the Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the Libyans, again, the ancient Libyans, were Phoenician. We'll get to that later on in the video. Not another video, but in this video, I'll get to who the Libyans later. The Libyans, the Canaanites, and Phoenicians were all descendants of Ham. So Noble Jolly ain't making this stuff up. They were a black or dark colored race and the pioneers of our civilization. They were responsible for the monuments that dot southern Siberia and the Americas, along the valley of the Mississippi down to Mexico and in Peru. Their images and monuments stand as voiceless witnesses. So there we get into our topic with Drusilla Houston, where she stated that the Canaanites, the Egyptians, which is they all related people. The Egyptians, the Canaanites, these Ethiopians, the Phoenicians, these Libyans, which is, like I said, all the same people. These people, they were the ones responsible for the monuments in Siberia and the Americas, all up down to Mississippi and Mexico and in Peru. This is what she stated, not me. So John D. Baldwin asked the question in his book, was America known to the ancients? He stated that the antiquities of Mexico and Central America reveal religious symbols, devices, and ideas nearly identical with those found in all the countries of the old world where Kushite communities formerly existed. So he's saying all the monuments and the buildings and the religious symbols and all the stuff found in ancient America was damn near identical to what the ancient Kushites had, which means some type of relation. So he stated Humboldt, which is another author, Humboldt, having traveled in America and observed remains of these civilizations, was convinced that communication did exist between the old world, which is Asia and Africa, and the new world, which is the Americas, North, South, and Central. He found evidence of it in the religious symbols, the architecture, the hieroglyphics, and the social customs made manifest by the ruins, which he was sure came from the other side of the ocean, which is Africa and Asia. And in his view, this is his view, and in his view, the date of this communication was older than the present divisions of Chinese, Mongols, Hindus, etc. So he's saying that this communication between America and Africa and Asia predates what you call the American Indian today. It predates them. Yeah, they were here in ancient times, but they were later. Right. So from an 18 now I'm going to give you a little bit out this book from the Reader's Digest. So you see, I keep my scholarship, boy. Keep my scholarship here. So from a 1986 edition of the Reader's Digest about ancient America, it is stated some 19th century writers had no doubt that the Phoenicians encountered America. Can the numerous monumental stone Olmec heads with negroid lips and noses be taken as proof that the Phoenicians brought along their black slaves on the lengthy voyages to America? That's all. That whole statement is found in this book. They the ones who said the Olmec heads had Negro lips and noses. I didn't say that. Because I hear people out there saying those Olmec heads, they not black or whatever. The Europeans said, they documented this, not me, right? So yeah, they mentioned could the Phoenicians have brought their black slaves. We know the Phoenicians was the original Phoenicians who called themselves Canaanites. They wasn't calling themselves Phoenicians. That's the Greek term which comes from Phoenix, which it has a relation to the color purple. But that's a whole nother story. But the Phoenicians called themselves Canaanites, and the Phoenicians were, as Drusilla Dungy stated, the Phoenicians were descendants of Ham. They were a black or dark colored race. So you know, some of these authors and stuff gonna be biased a little bit and put their own little spin on it and try to make it like, all right, they was black but they were slaves, just like some of these our own people do. Yeah, they was there but they were slaves. No, not all of us were slaves. And then we don't understand the ancient world because we do not read enough. In the ancient world, slaves was multicolored. You had pale skinned slaves, you had dark skinned slaves. Everybody could be slaves back then. And then in society, they didn't separate as today with black and white. If you was pale skinned and you was Phoenician, you was Phoenician. If you was dark skinned and you was Phoenician, you was Phoenician, whether you was dark or whether you was pale. So yeah. So it always been pale skinned people living amongst dark skinned people in society. So Noble Drew Ali made a statement that the Moabites from the land of Moab received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa, and that they were the founders of the Moroccan Empire. This empire is said to have included Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. Tripoli is in Libya. Tripoli was founded in the 7th century BC by Phoenicians. Tunis is ancient Carthage, which was also developed by Phoenicians. So in my estimation, the Moabites, Canaanites, and Hamites who came from the land of Canaan, which is in Asia or on Arabia and the land of Israel, what you call Israel today, Jerusalem, Palestine, all of that. So they came from that area, Syria, and they came from that area, and they received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle Northwest Africa, and they were later called Phoenicians by later Greek writers. But the Phoenicians called themselves Canaanites. There is a tribe of people in North Africa today who call themselves Mozabite. That's Mozabite. Mozabite. And they themselves trace their ancestry to the biblical Moabites. So these are people that live in where Noble Drew Ali said they went to back in this time. I say from my estimation about 1000 BC, because I'm considering the fact that these late Greek writers didn't call these people Moabites or call these people Canaanites and call these people what the Bible and different other literature called them, or maybe they didn't call them what they called themselves. I'm guessing that they threw all of these people in the pot under the banner of Phoenician. So these Moabites and these people who got this permission from the Pharaoh to settle and occupy the land of Northwest Africa, they was under the banner of Phoenician. So Noble Drew Ali ain't make it up, because when you trace and you study the history of the people who actually came from Asia into Africa, which is dark-skinned people, like I said, who made this migration from Asia to Africa about 3,000 years ago, who made this transition, they was called Phoenicians. They came, they settled in Libya, they settled in Tunis. What Noble Drew Ali said, they formed themselves kingdoms, which were called Tunis, Algiers, Morocco, Tripoli. Tripoli and Tunis is known to be Phoenician settlements. So there you have it. So the Kushites originally come from Arabia. They migrated from Arabia into Africa. So fast forward, when these Canaanites or these Phoenicians first came into Africa, their other brothers and sisters were already there. They were the Kushites. Because the Kushites left, I don't know how long ago, thousands of years before all of the rest of the people came. But the Kushites were the first Egyptian pharaohs. They was the pre-dynastic Egyptians. The Kushites were the pre-dynastic Egyptians. This is all facts and documented. So later on, when the Phoenicians came, they just asked their brothers and sisters, could they live here, since they already was running things there. They just asked them, could they settle there, and they got the green light to settle there. So they settled there. These are all the same people, all as they say, descendants of Ham, as they say. So these are all brothers and sisters. Now we all divided and stuff. Today we don't know that we all the same people. All is one bloodline. All the same blood that's going through us is going through me, is going through all of us. It's same bloodline, common ancestor. As we all come from a common ancestor, so we all the division is for nothing. So there you have. We're gonna have to do a part 2 because I just gave a foundation of the mystery of America. So in part 2, I'm going to go into the actual America. So going back to the beginning, Noble Jali told us that these Kushites and Canaanites were in America before the great earthquake. He said their inhabitation, their dominion and inhabitation extended from Africa across Great Atlantis onto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands. So Noble Jali also confirms all of this documentation is all in harmony. So you can draw your own conclusion from it. This is my conclusion, and that's what it is. So with that, I say peace. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Please subscribe, because this is coming. The information is coming. You're going to want to be the first one to get it. Like when the Jordans come out, they're in the line. You're going to want to be in the line to get it. You see? And then if you can't never finish the video, you want to come back, save it, and finish it later. So with that, I say peace.